Hi everyone. Thank you for joining me live. David, thank you for everyone else joining me live. And thank you for everyone joining me on the replay, of course. And if it's the first time that we're meeting, my name is Isabel Martins from Health and Natural Life. And I work with energy healing, energy clearing, animal communication, any and all things empathy, connection, energy, consciousness, awareness. So all of those things, we can never really separate them, but all of those are my field of play and my field of just passion to work with, to learn, to experiment with, and to share here on this channel. And today I wanted to share something that has been brewing, developing for a number of years, but for whatever reason this week it really landed. And the part of it that landed that I wanted to share with you has been actually maturing over the days, so it's kind of shifted to something broader. But what I wanted to share initially was what we all really want in our relationships, and this has kind of opened this focus that I wanted to share with you. Has kind of broadened in its scope to just be a video that will share this same thing, what we all want in relationships, and how we can actually create, upgrade, and heal our relationships, meaningful relationships, because it's the same underlying basis of what we all want is what can give us all of these things that create and bring into our lives meaningful relationships and meaningful interactions. It doesn't just have to be people that we are in relationship with, and relationship with, I mean here all types of relationships. So it can be friendships, it can be work related relationships, it can be romantic relationships, it can be family relationships, and it can actually be human interactions, period. So someone that you meet at a store, what we'll be talking about here will be something that will enrich, making up words, enriching, that's a nice verb, to enrich. It will enrich all of your human interactions, and with it, your life, really. So let's start with the create part. So we're kind of taught in our society an interesting paradigm for what it is that we want in relationships and who we have to be, how we have to be, how we have to look, what we have to have in order to actually be able to have the relationships that we want. So there's a lot of emphasis on let's call it what I use in a conversation, it's the physical and outward displays of being good enough. Let's just put it like that. So looking good, being smart, being successful, being loving and kind, all of those things we kind of get taught that for us to actually have a relationship in our lives and to have love, we need to have these things, all of them, or one or two very, very strongly. So we kind of end up having a lot of insecurities and fears around, I can tell for women, it's a lot regarding physical appearance and regarding the needing to be the nurturer and all that. For men, apparently there's a lot, it's amping up the physical appearance as well, but there's a lot on the success and material things, and that's just conditioning from our society. And quite honestly, those things make sense in a paradigm of approval. We're looking for approval, trying to get love from that. Approval and love are not the same thing. Approval is what we get when we do something right, when we please someone, and that's a really big issue for most of us in relationships, is that we are taught from the get-go, little children, that we have to please our caregivers in order to receive love and, of course, support, safety, all of the things that our caregivers give to us. So we're conditioned from the get-go that we need to be a certain way, we need to look a certain way, we need to achieve a certain something in order to receive love, which for us is associated with approval at that stage. So it's a mixed, messed up mix right there, because approval is not love. Acceptance, full acceptance is love. And if you think, for instance, I don't know if this was your experience or not, but usually parents can be trickier. You're blessed if you actually had that experience with your parents, but grandparents are usually easier for us to gauge what it means, to the difference between approval and acceptance. All that we really want, and this is the core of this video, and I'll get into the practical hows later, but all that we really want is to be fully seen, to be fully accepted, and to be fully loved exactly as we are, not for what we do, not for our intelligence or achievements or looks or possessions. We want to be fully loved exactly as we are. If we're happy, if we're sad, if we're angry, it does not matter. What we want is just as human beings. This is a really core need for human beings, to be fully seen, to be fully accepted, and to be loved exactly as we are. And that's, I could wrap the video here, but that would be nice and philosophical. But if you think about this, there is no, we need to look a certain way in terms of relationships with others. There is no, I need to achieve this, or I need to demonstrate that, I need to have these material possessions in this, because for us to actually have deep and meaningful relationships, to bring those relationships into our lives, and to actually attract, even if it's on the create part, relationships, what we want from the people in relationship with us is the same thing that they want from us towards them. They, the other person, they want to be fully seen. They want to be fully accepted as they are. They want to be fully loved as they are, no matter their state, no matter their achievements, no matter their anything else. The other person is the same as you. We all just want to be fully seen, fully loved, fully accepted. This frees up a lot of bandwidth, let's just be honest, because there's no need to play games, so to speak. There's no need to build up the outward displays. You don't need to just doll yourself up if you're a woman, although visual agreement, so visual resonance, it's part of relationships, of course. You don't need to be successful or to be powerful, strong, always tough man, or whatever the paradigm might be that you are conditioned into. For a woman or a man, depending on your preferences, of course, on your orientations, to be with you, to want to be with you, to love you, to accept you, you just have to give exactly what you want to receive, which is to just be fully in that state of seeing the person, accepting the person, loving the person. Anything else is secondary. It truly is. And even with people that are more in a paradigm of just needing those outward displays of power from you. So beauty is power, intelligence is power, money is power, success is power. All of these things are associated with power in our society. And even for people who feel that they need those things, so they kind of look for partnerships with those qualities, underneath there's a really deep sense of feeling unsafe. So they are looking for partnerships built on that paradigm of trying to feel safe themselves. But even those people that are really rooted in the unsafe state of being, they still at the core need the exact same things: to be fully seen, to be fully loved, to be fully accepted. And even if they don't get it from, and I'm thinking here of romantic relationships, even if they marry someone for, let's say, monetary security or for a feeling of physical security, they will still look for the fully seen, fully accepted, fully loved elsewhere, whether it's friendships, whether it's a group, whether it's animals, because hello. Why do we love our animals so much? Besides them being just, well, beautiful beings, it is because they fully see us, they fully accept us anytime, anywhere, however we are, and they fully love us. That's why for a lot of people it's actually a lot easier to feel and open up their heart, to feel love towards an animal than it is towards another human. And this is because most of us are in a very defensive pattern. Speaking from experience, of course, we are defensive, guarded against other human beings because we've all been hurt, we've all been betrayed, we've all been abandoned, we've all been rejected, we've all been mishandled. Let's just generalize it like that. So we've built layers and layers of defense, and just they automatically come to the surface when we're interacting with other human beings. So animals really are a really much purer interaction, where we can see that what we truly want and appreciate so much from them is that they fully see us, accept us, and love us, no matter what. And I'm getting a little bit of an itch here that I'm getting from some of you, and it's regarding what now apparently is the buzzword, narcissists and that type of thing. I'm sorry the way that I'm going to put it, but at some point in time we're all just fucking narcissists ourselves. Okay, narcissism just seems to be a buzzword that we could just throw around to people that we think are self-centered and they just have their own interests at heart. Honestly, we are all like that to a certain degree. There are people, of course, that are on the pathological side of this and they do need help. But this type of focus comes from that defensiveness. Again, that not trusting humans, that not being seen, not being loved, feeling unsafe to the extreme. Most of us are not at that extreme, but we do vacillate. Depending on the situation, depending on the person in front of us, we can be more or less narcissistic. But what I'm sharing here is not for you to be a martyr or to just try and love everyone and just let them walk all over you. No, this is just the principles of what it actually is that we in human relationships, or we as beings pretty much, of all species, what we want. We want to be fully seen, fully loved, fully accepted. And the first person that we actually have to fully see, fully love, fully accept is ourselves. So this is kind of a catch-22 type of thing. It's a lot easier for us to be able to extend this seeing, accepting, and loving state to another person when we actually gift that state to ourselves. We are with what comes up inside of us. We're present in our bodies. We honor our feelings. We tend to ourselves, to our sensitivity first. It's a lot easier to then extend that to another person. But the opposite also works. As we try to be that way with another human being, one that we trust, that we feel that, yeah, we can do this without feeling that they'll just abuse, or for whatever reason we don't feel safe doing it. So when we do this, when we are in this state with another person, it starts becoming more normal and easier for us to be that way with ourselves. And if you want to check this, I have the videos that I shared with Michael Brown's work, especially the Stop Trying to Feel Better and Get Better at Feeling video, that talks a lot about it, and I'll link it in the cards of this video as well if you want to check it out. So there is that biofeedback that then starts bringing us closer to home, and we start just dissolving the roles, the expectations, the masks that most of us have in pretty much all of our relationships, and we start becoming more transparent, more present, more confident in fully being ourselves and interacting from that state. And another interesting thing, let's get to the practical first before I go into that. So how can we actually be more in that state of seeing the other person, feeling, accepting them, loving them? It all starts with presence and awareness of your own self, your own body. So coming into your body, say you're engaging with another person. While you're engaging with them, you can just be present in your body, noticing the sensations. And again, this is a learning process for most of us because we're very much disembodied and in our heads, thinking about things. When people say something, we just go into memory land, or we start thinking about the replies that we want to give to them. A really powerful practice is empathic listening. And empathic listening is just this: you're with another person, they're speaking, you're paying attention to your body, you're listening to them, but part of your awareness is on your physical sensations. You start noticing when something just contracts in you, you breathe through it, just start releasing the tension. You start noticing when you're getting fidgety, can shake it while you're talking with someone. Why not? We can just move and shake, just anything to release the energy, come back into that state of being centered, being present in your body. While you're present in your body, listening to the other person, you are not in your mind. And if you're not in your mind, you're not judging them. You're not creating stories about them. You are just being yourself. There's nothing really to do, which is another freeing, very freeing thing. You're just being. You're just paying attention. You're just monitoring, being aware of your body while you're listening to another person. And this type of presence in yourself, in your body, regulates your nervous system. Just start being calmer, more grounded, more in resonance with the other person, and they will feel that presence and they will feel seen because you're not in mind land, you're in your body. There is that resonance from your nervous system. They will feel accepted, and that state of presence and non-resistance to another person is a way of loving them. And very naturally, when we're present, when we're communicating in this way, there's a sort of there's an innocence that we see in them, in everything, the purity really in everything that they might be sharing, that very naturally triggers in us a sense of love. And it might not be something that you experience in the first few times that you're doing this, but the more that you practice, be present, be in your body, just notice, tend to your own sensitivity as you're engaging with another person, and still relax, breathe through the discomfort, and be present with them. Nervous system starts calming down, grounding, resonating with the other person. They feel seen, they feel loved, they feel accepted. You feel loved, you just feel there's a joy. It's not that you feel loved or accepted yourself while you're doing this, but there's I don't know if we have a word for this, but there is such a sense of joy, of freedom. It's just the freedom of being, of our loving nature, just fully being free to express itself. And this state actually of presence, empathic listening, embodiment is also a state that is very associated with very attractive characteristics. And I mean attractive here not in a physical looks sense, but in a resonance, energetic sense. There is the presence, the openness, the non-resistance, the calmness, the peacefulness. All of those are very attractive characteristics that make us really much more attractive even to the people in our lives. If you think about someone in your life that is able to just be fully with you, to not judge you, to love you, accept you exactly as you are, it doesn't really matter what that person looks like, what they do or don't do, what they have or don't have. You love that person. That person has a big space in your heart, and it's very attractive to be near people that are in that state themselves. And this state is very, very healing for us to be in. It's the embodied state, present, tending to our own sensitivities again, because we don't want to be in this state of presence in order to get something from the other person. We want to be in this state because it's healing for us as well. And this is just a beautiful way to create meaningful relationships and interactions from the get-go, because you can do this with new people coming into your life. You can do this with already existing relationships, and it will upgrade any and every relationship that you have, just being in this state as best you can, of course. And usually it's easier with friendships or relationships that aren't strained. Start playing with just being more present, noticing your body while you're interacting with them. And funny enough, these times where, depending on when you're listening to this, of course, but as is, we're in March 2021, and there's still a lot of social distancing and on some places lockdown that prevents us from actually doing the things that we usually do with people in our lives. So we don't have the momentum of those habits to embroil us in the habitual ways of relating. So for a lot of us, this is actually a perhaps unexpected opportunity to deal with our relationships, to upgrade our relationships, and to start relating in a different way. There's a lot of Zooming happening, for instance, and conversations more at a distance. There aren't so many activities or the usual things that we do with people. So we can start being more present in conversations. We can start coming more to the body. There's not as much momentum because there aren't the usual activities. So because of the shift in environment and the shift in ways of interacting, it might actually be easier for us to start cultivating this presence, this way of being, this embodied, empathic listening to ourselves, to the other person more. And this is also something that can heal relationships. And healing relationships is the trickiest part, because the more meaningful relationships in our lives can be, the more strained as well. And I'm thinking about family here. It's usually the case, because it's the people that we spent, for the most part, the largest part of our life with, our first years of life. So it's the people that have the most buttons that we have the most buttons with. And these relationships can be the hardest actually to be in this state with, but they're also the ones that hold the greatest healing potential. And by healing, I don't mean necessarily that the relationship will be perfect, but the healing for yourself. Although the relationship will shift, just necessarily it will shift, but you have the most healing potential coming from those relationships. So for instance, if there's even a person in your life that you feel, I'm not even willing to do this with that person, you don't have to, of course, but that is probably the relationship that has the most juice, the most life force, the most freedom for you to claim back. And not freedom as in freedom from that person, freedom because your energy will not be in that state of resistance and pushing against and just hardened around whatever that relationship means for you. You can bring that energy back. It can become part of your available life force again. And again, you don't have to do anything. And again, also these times kind of make it easier for us, in a sense, to not have to engage with everyone in our lives, but it also makes it easier for us to bring those people, since we have a break from them, you can just use, if it calls you, of course, a sort of mental simulation of that person in your mind to start being this way with them in your mind first, and then start seeing how the actual physical relationship starts feeling to you again, if you want. So a really interesting way that we can use these times and use this awareness to bring ourselves into a greater wholeness, greater healing, much more freedom for us to be in relationship and to just move through the human world, is to first notice, come to your body. If there is, if you want to look at specific relationship, first get yourself into a state of relaxation. Breathe, if you want, box breathing, so one that you breathe in for a count of 4 or 5, hold the breath, the in breath for 4 or 5, out breath, so exhale for a count of 4 or 5, and then hold the out breath as well for a count of 4 or 5. If you do this box breathing 4 or 5 times in a row, you can get yourself into a calmer state and start noticing then what are the sensations, how do you feel in your body. Just start noticing your baseline, and then you can bring that person to your mind and notice what comes up then. There will be, if it's a strained relationship, there will be a contraction or a caving in or a trying to push away. You'll notice physical sensations. Don't go into the story that you're making, that it's because of this person and you need to do this and you need to avoid that. That will just keep on reinforcing the pattern, the story, the structure, and keep your energy unavailable to you, locked somewhere in your field. Just notice the sensations. Come to your body and apply this fully seeing, fully accepting, fully loving to those sensations as if they are little beings themselves. So it is probably a little child version of you there that's reacting, or a teenager version of you that's reacting. Just apply the same type of fully seeing, fully accepting, fully loving to them. Just be present. Just notice the sensations, even if they are uncomfortable. Just breathe through them. See if you can just relax your body a little bit and just allow the energy to move through you. You can keep your awareness as well on your core line if you want, and just imagine that you have your energy field expanded around you, just about arm's length away, front, sides, back, up, down, because that will give you the space as the loving person in this internal interaction. That will give you the space to be with that part of yourself that was hurt, that was disappointed, that was betrayed, that was whatever it was that you experienced that's still not digested. So this way of being, you can do it for yourself, with those experiences that haven't been digested from your past. You can start extending it then to people in your life. I would say it's easier probably to the people that you already have an open, loving relationship. Start doing this and practicing this more and more. And of course, whenever, if ever you feel, I hope so, you feel inspired to just bring those people that you feel have a more strained relationship to your mind when you're by yourself, and you can hold that space for whatever comes up, and start healing those relationships, even if you don't intend to ever just change even the physical relationship, because there are people that have, and I don't know if you do, a lot of trauma with some relationships. That integration, that is healing for you, for your energy, for your body, for your mind, for all of your other loving relationships. You start to integrate those things from the past. And even in normal interactions, human interactions, I think it might actually be maybe an intermediate step in between the people that you already know and love and the people who might be toughest for you, or even engaging in new relationships, just people that you interact with on a fairly regular basis, even if they're all different. So coffee shops, bakeries, um, shops of any type, even services. For instance, if you give services or when you're receiving service from someone, you can practice this way of being as well, because it will become stronger, it will become easier for you, and you will actually, as you practice this with other people, you will be able to do this with yourself more and more, and it will just build upon itself, and it makes everything a lot easier when it comes to human interactions. So I think this is what I wanted to share now. I also want to say that, again, if you have people that are really hard for you, or if you have a lot of trauma in these types of relationships, just reach out for help. Me, a friend, anyone, if you want, just take care of yourself first. And sometimes there are things that we feel that we need someone else's nervous system, regulated nervous system, to help us move through, because we still feel very unsafe in these things. But for the most part, you can start excuse me, you can start soothing the insecurities, the fears, the masks. Start dissolving all of those things in the relationships that you already have with the people that you trust. If you have an animal, notice how you are with them. Try to bring that to other relationships as well with humans. And then start expanding that to people that you just meet, human interactions out in the world. And then start bringing that to the relationships that have the most story in your life, the most history, the most energy and healing and integrating in wholeness potential for you. I hope this helps. Do let me know. Share, comment, like, do what you feel inspired. Thank you for listening. Thank you, David, for joining me live, and I'll see you on the next video.